is Vocalo Radio, 91.1 FM, Chicago's only NPR music station. I'm your host, Bekoe. Have some very special guests with me. We're live at Lollapalooza, and I got these sacred souls. How you all doing?
Good, man.
Doing good.
Doing good, man.
So, on your website, right off the back, you all said a quote, oftentimes, first impression oftentimes is like the best impression or something like that.
We didn't write that, but I feel that.
I believe those are the words of Bosco Man.
Yeah. I think Gabe said that.
But would you agree?
First, sometimes you only have one impression, right? So
Yeah, but also I believe in like I feel like it's not the end all be all. You can mess up and then there's grace, and then you can have another good.
you got one chance.
What about dude? What's the song? We got a song about second chance.
Yeah, that's the point though. You know, this also isn't your first time performing in Chicago. So what do you love most about Chicago, and what do you love about Chicago's audience?
We got a good energy. I think we played Talia Hall outside one summer and then inside, and it was some of the best energy we felt.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mostly it's just always, every time we're in Chicago, the energy, you know, they always bring the energy.
Well, I mean, what are some of the first things you all like to do once you arrive in the city? I know everybody has I know all you have different things.
Try to find the best coffee shop.
I agree with that one, but I also try to find somewhere to do some yoga. I found a spot. I forget what it's called. That's it for me.
Usually try to link up with some of my friends out here and try to find some jewelry or vintage. I got a friend out here with the shop called Sad Heart. Yeah, I think they just opened up. Check them out.
Things has happened in the recent years, and you all have been growing as a band. So what are some of the things that you've dealt with as changes as far as like when the pandemic hit? You all recently put out your debut album. So what are some of those changes you had to pretty much go through to get to where you're at now?
I think just growing more as a band and just playing more on the road, and pretty much being on the road constantly is like changed the way we write, and kind of just forces you to like make time, really, because you don't have that much time.
Yeah, I feel like just being on the road, playing these handful of songs over and over again, it gives you a chance to refine a performance or try to see what stories you're trying to tell with the music you wrote. At this point, we played so often that like you'll get bored if you don't try to think of ways to feel like the music comes alive to you when you're on the road.
Yeah, I mean, before, you know, we'd be back at home and sit in Alex's studio and just kind of be able to play through an idea over and over. And out here, it's kind of just finding the moment when you have it, which is most of the times in the green room before a gig or after or in between or in a hotel room, you know.
To hear that you all don't have much time but find time is very interesting, because I know tour life can get a little hectic. But you all found time to put out your album, These Sacred Souls. Can you at least give everyone an idea on what inspired the album?
We just wanted to kind of like, I don't want to say put a new spin on the stuff that we grew up on, but kind of our interpretation of honoring the music that we all like, and it's 60s soul music is kind of timeless, you know?
Yeah.
So what he said, you know, just paying homage to the greats before us, but also not being stuck in their shadow and trying to be them, just trying to let it flow through us. And whatever we're going through, whatever we've digested as teens and adults up till now, also is involved in the conversation and tries to, you know, we try to make something new with that information.
I mean, what are some of the artists that you all listen to forming These Sacred Souls album?
Man, I feel like we all listen to so much music, and not even necessarily just soul, even when thinking about writing soul, you know, it's I don't know, pulling from all types of different genres, whether it's, you know,
last record.
Oh, sorry, last record. Yeah, last record. I feel like when we first started, I was still pretty stuck on the groups that I was raised on, which was a lot of the music out from East LA and Texas, you know, a lot of the Chicano soul groups. Yeah, like the Eptones from San Antonio, Royal Jesters, and a lesser known band, I think from Detroit. I'm not sure. Symphonic 4. I'm not sure exactly where they're from, but like it's like the rare 45s
in the DJ scene, like we've had a lot of friends that like put us on to new stuff, and they've been collecting records for years, man. So like they put us on to some different stuff that we probably never heard of, and all that inspired us to make something out of it.
Now, you know, I checked out the album. I love soul music. But for you all, I want to ask you all, what does the soul genre mean to the world?
I don't know. I feel like every genre is important and it's a beautiful expression of humanity. You know, so there's something for everybody. But soul specifically, I feel like is one of the best conduits for raw emotion. Specifically listening to the records they were just telling you about, they put me onto those too, because I grew up on mostly Motown stuff. And listening to some of this rare 45 things, it's like you could feel the raw emotion almost in the fact that their voices weren't perfect, the recordings weren't perfect. It hit harder that way. It felt real and emotional. And I think soul music has that power to just get to the core of people's emotions. And we all experience the same myriad of emotions, just in different ways. And soul music is like, it's the conduit.
Would you all also say love inspired your recent album?
Of course. I feel like love hopefully should inspire everything. So, but yeah, it definitely was on the forefront of the messages. Is like, we live in a screwed up time. We have been, our favorites, one of my favorites, Marvin Gaye, said the same thing. And we're what, 70 years, how many ever years past that, and we're still saying the same thing. It's a cycle. It's like, if we don't lead with love, we're kind of screwed. I'm trying to keep my language clean.
It's if you want to let it out, I heard when you use profanity, that means you being yourself, okay? You're letting out that pure raw.
If we don't lead with love, we're that's all I was going to say.
Now, you know, speaking of love, I'm pretty sure all of you all have fell in love at some point of your life. I hope I'm right. All right, so what do you remember most about your first love?
My first love. I'm still with my first love, really. You know, the first girl I really fell in love with, I'm still with her. And I don't know, it's a feeling of like, it hits you and you kind of have this face and you're staring off into the distance. You're like, you don't know how to feel. You don't know how to describe it. So I feel like that's kind of like the same way music is, and the same way you should feel love for the person you're with is the same way you should feel for the things that you do.
Man, I've only experienced shades of love, man. I the last person that was a deep love for me helped me realize who I was. And that's the feeling that makes me think that it's more than just sharing intimacy and just intimate friends, you know, like there was a love at one point that helped me realize who I was even as I was learning it. And that's kind of what I'm still chasing. So I don't know what else you want to hear, man. I can't say anything else.
At least you experienced.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't got any deep but love is good, and when you feel it, it's good. And I hope that everybody gets to feel it because it's good.
That's deep. What are you talking about? That's deep.
And lastly, with the album, you know, what would you all like for people to take away from your debut album, The Sacred Soul?
I think I just want people to hear authenticity and just feel the music that came out of our minds, and just know that they can relate to it too, you know?
Personally, I just want people to feel a closer connection to this humanity we share, because that's what my favorite music does for me. It just reminds me how big and small I am at the same time, and that's what I want people to feel when they listen to our music.
Yeah, I'd hope that, you know, younger generations and even people of our age, you know, when they listen to the album, and maybe it'll, like what it kind of did for us, which was, you know, bring you back to the music that you grew up on. And maybe people who didn't grow up on soul, maybe they, you know, hear the album, and maybe it's a gateway for them to realize that they do like soul, and then maybe it'll get them into soul like in the future. Or even, you know, the older generations that would listen to the album and remind them of, you know, because they were around for the time. So if we get the older generation on board, then that's everything, you know.
And lastly, because we had Lolla, you all have been on so many stages, from venues to festivals. So what is that transition like, hitting a regular stage? Like, what's the differences of hitting a venue stage compared to a festival stage like Lolla?
It's always nice to play smaller, intimate shows, but we've been playing so many different types of venues and different capacities that you still feel the love in a big venue or at a big festival. It's like either way, it's like you're reaching people.
I feel like the different rooms are like different little realities to practice and learn. So, like it feels different. I know for myself, I have to look inward in a different way for a festival than I do for a 400 cap. The capacity mentally changes, so I put on a different cap that's a little bit more maybe protect myself with the ego and let and a bigger spot and let that take most of the hit versus a smaller intimate thing. It's like it's a little easier to be day-to-day Josh on those smaller stages, at least for me. So it's like it's all the same stuff, but it's just different capacities, energy too. I think that's what I mean by the capacity.
Yeah. Today though, he went off on running and he had a whole crowd
because they were following.
They were chasing him like Rocky. What's that Rocky movie?
The whole time?
Yeah,
Rocky.
All the Rocky movies where this fool running up the stairs.
That's where yoga come in. Like,
No, yeah, I mean that's a good example. Like I love playing the smaller venues, and some of my favorite shows have been at the smaller venues. But it's still a good energy, and it's just a different type of energy. You get to see more of just everybody's expressions and how they're connecting with the music, rather than when it's in a small room, it's right in front of you.
From San Diego to the beautiful city of Chicago, man, we appreciate you brothers for taking our time to stop by with us and enjoy your time here in Chicago.